Welcome to the She Lives podcast, a show for women who want to live a happier life while tackling their goals along the way. Want to learn more about what we talked about today? Visit our website, shelivespodcast.com. Now here's your host, Michelle Hancock.
Tricia Scruggs is a foodie with a passion for travel, especially when there's a beach involved. On a girls' trip to the Caribbean, she was inspired to create a food walking tour. After years of dreaming and planning, Tricia founded We Ate Well Food Tours in 2017 in her beautiful hometown of McKinney, Texas. Prior to launching the tours, Tricia spent more than a decade as a newspaper journalist for the McKinney Courier-Gazette. It was at that time that she fell in love with the historic and charming town square. Through We Ate Well Food Tours, Tricia has found the perfect blend of her passions and is happy to be telling her stories again, this time through food. Hi, Tricia. How are you doing today?
I am good. How are you?
Good. Welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you on.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be on.
Yes. There's so much to talk about. I love that you are a foodie, and we're going to talk about what a foodie is in a minute. And we're also going to talk about food tours. It's a new thing, or maybe it's been around forever, but I just was introduced to it through you about, I guess, a year ago.
Yeah.
And we had the best time. I invited some of my friends, my business partners, and I wanted to show them my love for food and appreciation for all that they have done for my business. And we had the best time. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what is a foodie and how has being a foodie benefited your life in a positive way?
Yeah. Well, I'm originally from Illinois, from suburban Chicago, and I'm married with two boys. And I basically grew up a foodie because all of my family members were foodies. So I've kind of defined it as being a person who loves food and who is open to trying new foods and is just all about food, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, definitely. I have a few friends that are foodies, and they're always the ones that I call or text. So, where should we go for date night? Do you find a lot of people do that to you? Are they like, where should I go if they've already done a food tour with you?
Yeah, people who have taken the tours, but also my friends, especially when I first started the tour, I would get messages like, well, you probably know where I should eat, or, what do you think of this place? And where should we go for date night? And what about our anniversary? So yeah.
That's great.
Lots of recommendations.
Have you always been open to trying new food, like when you were younger, or did you fall into that?
I think I was just greedy when I was growing up.
Well, yeah, that's a positive way of saying that.
Yes. And so by, that type of appetite just made it easy for me to try new things because I was always open to it. I always attribute my grandfather being the biggest influence on me being a foodie, because I used to go to work with him sometimes in the summer, and he would take me to all these great sandwich shops, and he would always bring along a cooler full of food, fresh fruit, sandwiches, just, all kinds of goodies. And then my mom and dad, they were the kind who would drive far distances for the best food. So I kind of had it coming at me from all angles. And then my grandma was the best cook, of course, right?
Oh, of course.
So I was just always, surrounded by food. And every Friday we'd have a big get together at my aunt's house, and there would be fried catfish and spaghetti and lots of beer, and spades. It's a card game that people play. And so, the kids would just kind of hang back and listen to all the adult conversation, and then every now and then try to sip some of that beer. But we always got busted, so we were not stealth enough to accomplish that yet.
Yeah, they had their eyes on you. Well,
Right.
tell our listeners that don't even know what a food tour is. What is a food tour, and how can they? You are located in North Texas, which McKinney is where you do your food tours, but are they everywhere? Can they tell us about this whole food tour thing?
So a food tour concept is basically a walking tour, but infused with food. So instead of walking and just looking at the sites, you get to go into restaurants and sample some of the best items on their menu. And so usually a food tour will have about 4 to 6 stops. meaning 4 to 6 restaurants you'll go in and you'll taste food. You also get to meet the owners and some of the managers and staff, and it's just a fun overall experience. We combine our food tour with art as well as history. So it's a full experience of eating, learning, and socializing with people in your group. The food tour concept is relatively new in terms of a business idea, but they've been around for about 10 to 20 years or so, some of the oldest ones. And because of the popularity of this type of tourism, now people are starting food tours in almost every city around the world. So, and as you mentioned, we're in North Texas, we're in McKinney, about 30 miles north of Dallas, little historic town. And so you've got little nuggets like that. You've got larger tours. Some of my best friends have tours in Denver, Atlanta, Nashville, Chicago, Madison, Wisconsin. So I always tell people when they're on our tours, if you want to take a food tour, you will probably be able to find one no matter where you travel. So
That's exciting. I had the best time on our food tour with our group of girlfriends. Say you just want to go with your husband, have a date night. Can you do that? Or do you have to have a group to do a food tour?
you do not need a group. You can actually come alone. You can come with your spouse or with a best friend or your mom. We have all combinations of people taking the tours. And the great thing is, even if you come solo, you won't leave solo. You will have made friends. I find that people who take food tours are really open to meeting other people too. So, so it just, I think it's open. It's for anybody. It's for a date night. We don't have anything to do on Saturday, and let's figure out what we can do and have fun at the same time. So,
Well, and that leads me into my next question, which I think I know the answer to this, but how can going on a food tour or even being open to trying new food enrich our personal lives?
I think it just gets us out of our comfort zone. It also takes us away from our day-to-day norm. So we're all busy. We're all generally working either inside or outside the home. And going on a food tour is something that you kind of have to say, hey, we're going to do this. You block out 2 or 3 hours of time, and it takes you away from all that. So I always think of it as more of like a little mini vacation. It's kind of an escape. But then also you get introduced to things that are new to you. And a lot of people on our tours are introduced to things that they didn't even know existed right in their own backyard. So that's always the most rewarding part for me, is when I have people who live in my community, have been here, 15, 20 years, but maybe haven't been to the square in a few years, or had been to the square, several years ago and didn't necessarily know where to go and what to do. And now they're back and they're like, oh, I didn't even know this restaurant was here, or I didn't know this shop was here with all these beautiful kitchen accessories. And so then they're able to share this information not only with people in their neighborhoods, but also with their family and friends who visit from out of town. So it just helps promote community. And I think that's one of the biggest benefits of having a food tour here locally.
Definitely, and it's a great partnership that you have going on between the merchants, the restaurant owners, and the community. It really brings everyone together, like that small town feel. And I would definitely recommend it either if you're living in town or if you're traveling, maybe do it like the first day that you're traveling so you can kind of get a preview of what's to come.
Yes. Have you done this tour guide thing before?
No, I haven't.
That's the first
But
thing
maybe I should get a job.
Yeah.
Need another one.
Yeah, you have a lot.
So do you change up the restaurants here and there? So like if I went last year like I did, can I go again and try new things, or how does that work? Do you have repeat customers?
We have repeat customers. Our product pretty much stays the same, but you may get a different tasting. You might get the same restaurant, but a different tasting. So it just depends on how things are going with the tour, what our friends are offering. A lot of our friends, our partners, are really focused on local, sustainable, seasonal foods. So when you come on the food tour, if you came in April and you come back in November, you may have a completely different tasting because harvesting has happened, crops are different, menu offerings are different. So there's a little diversity in that. But
Oh, that sounds fun.
yeah, but generally they remain the same. And so that's why we have two products, the lunch tour and then the cocktail tour, which are completely different experiences.
I could imagine. But you can on your food tour, you do have a wine tasting stop most of the time, right?
Oh, every time.
Every time. Okay. And I would think experience is going to be different no matter what. Even if you had the same food, I could imagine your company,
Yes.
the conversations change a little bit. I know our group got really close and bonded. And afterwards, we went to another restaurant just to kind of have an after party after the food tour. And we just they're still talking about it a year later. So definitely check out We Ate Well food tours if you're here in Dallas, McKinney area, or if you're traveling here soon, or any food tour wherever you're traveling. So before you started this business, tell us a little bit about what you were doing, what your journey was like to get to this entrepreneurship level.
Sure. Well, most immediately before starting the business, I was probably potty training. So,
Aren't we
yeah,
all?
so I was home with my boys. We have two boys. They're now 7 and 8. Prior to that, I had two careers. I worked in insurance as an underwriter for years, and then I changed careers and I became a journalist, and I was a news reporter for several newspapers here in the Dallas Metroplex, as well as freelancing for some national magazines. So I kind of had, I guess this is my third iteration of a career. It's my third dream job, I always say. So I was taking care of my boys, and I guess I should back up a bit. When my oldest was just 6 months old, I was going through a little bit of the baby blues, and I kind of needed to get away. So my husband sent me on a little vacation. I met up with my best friend in Puerto Rico, and I was looking forward to just kind of laying on the beach with a drink in my hand. And she was looking forward to hiking the rainforest and doing all this adventurous stuff. But the one thing we agreed on, because we're both foodies, is to take a food tour, which we hadn't heard of, but it looked like a great idea. It included a walking tour and it included dinner. So we were like, yes, let's do this. And I fell in love. And at that point, I thought, you know what, I'm going to do this one day. And at that time, like I said, my oldest was 6 months old, and unbeknownst to me, I was expecting number 2. So, so it's probably attributed to some of the moodiness. And so, when both of our boys got to school age, kindergarten and first grade, that's when I launched the food tours. And I decided to do it here, in the town that I now call home, and reached out to some friends of mine to tell them about the idea. They connected me with some restaurant owners, and they thought it was fabulous. And, fortunately, we were blessed to have several partners say yes immediately. And then we just kind of launched it, and the rest is history, I guess.
That's great. And I love that your husband recognized that you needed a mommy time out to explore and feel like yourself again. I think so many times women get the baby blues and they just kind of work through it in their own ways, which is fine. But I think to take a time out and realize that you need to get back to discover something that you love. And through that experience, you were able to eventually start your passion as an entrepreneur later down the line. What would you say was the hardest part about starting your own business?
I think the learning curve for me personally was the hardest part. Just, what does a business look like? How do I form a business? What about taxes and, bookkeeping? And so, I'm a creative. I'm not a numbers person. So that part has been an adjustment, and I've been able to talk to other food tour operators, other business owners who gave me great advice, great suggestions, and partnered with some professionals whose job it is to make sure your taxes are done well and accurately. So I guess that was the biggest challenge for me, and I'm still learning.
Well, and I think you've learned something very important that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with. I know I do, is the art of delegation. So you're delegating the things that you are not your strongest at, like taxes, which I joined that club as well. But you've also grown your business in a short amount of time. I was on your website the other day and I saw you have a few other tour guides, and I'd realized that's probably hard for you to do most of the tours. Was that hard for you to give up a little bit of that control and let other people take over your baby?
I thought it would be, but because I had been going for like a year and a half doing every single tour myself, and then I had a little bit of a health concern last summer, it just made it that much more easy to let go of the reins. So at that point, I feel like God was saying, okay, you know what? You need some help and you need it now. So, in theory, it was going to be really hard for me to let somebody else take over my baby. But when it actually came to executing it, it was pretty seamless. And we're actually about to hopefully bring on another person on our team. And so I'm really excited about that. And I've brought on people who really love the concept, who really loved our tour even before they came on board. And so that has really helped me be able to share responsibility responsibilities of, what it means to have this product out in the market.
That is so exciting. Now, I noticed the other day also you were going to do another food tour in combination with your love of travel. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So one of the concepts we're working on is a destination, sort of a meetup at a wonderful destination. Initially, we targeted a beach community. We're looking going forward to maybe doing Chicago, which is my hometown, and I know it well. So essentially, what we'll do is have a bunch of foodies kind of meet up in this central location. I'll have a wonderful itinerary plan that obviously includes food and drink, but it'll also include art and history. And it's really just an opportunity for people to just get away and have a kind of a carefree momcation is what I like to refer to it as. And even if you're not a mom, it's a great girls trip, or maybe come on the trip with your mom. So that's a new product that we're offering this year, and I'm really excited about it. I've already made some great connections with folks in Florida at a beach community there that my family loves to go to. And so I'm looking forward to being able to share that with our followers as well as some of our repeat guests.
And I'm sure that's a tough gig for you to have to travel to all these beautiful places.
Yes, I had to.
Bummers.
Yeah, I had to go down and
Somebody's got to do it.
I'll do it.
well, what do you think? You're an entrepreneur. You are your own boss. What do you think this is teaching your own children? What do you hope they see when they see mom taking charge with her
Well, I
business?
first of all think it shows them the value of work, because little story is when before I started this business and I was a stay-at-home mom, I picked up my kids from school one day and they asked me what did I do all day, that and kind of implied that I wasn't working. So I thought, oh, well, let me tell you what I do. And then I started going down the laundry list of things I do, including laundry. But now they have, a more, I guess, tangible way of seeing what I do. And they are two of our biggest fans. My oldest will try to secure new partners for us. If ever we go to a restaurant and he likes what he's eating, he'll say, hey, you want to be on our food tour? so
That's
I always call him
awesome.
like the little director of marketing. But I think it brings the value of knowing that there is work. I think there's some value in our boys seeing their mom go to work and what that looks like. And I just think there's a generation ahead of us that is already prepared to accept the roles that women play in the workforce in a new way. So not to be preachy, but I
No, I
think,
love that.
yeah,
I think my husband asked me once what I did all day whenever I had a little
yeah.
baby, and I think he got slapped. He hasn't asked it since. Or, when I traveled, he had to stay behind and he
Yes.
had to do the laundry list that you
Yeah.
mentioned. And then ever since then, he's been very appreciative. So I definitely suggest all women, all wives and mothers, leave your husband, partners alone with the kids for a while, and
Yeah.
you will definitely have a return on investment on
That was hard. Yeah, it was hard for me to do that, but it's like I remember when my babies were little, I couldn't even like go to Target without like, oh, I got to get back, to the house. Yeah, my husband is super capable. I mean, like this ship would not float the way it is if it weren't for him. So yeah, so I'm thankful that, to be a person who, like you, has a husband who is fully, supportive of their business and promotes your business. I see your husband all the time talking about all the great things that
Aw,
you do. So we're blessed.
I will say, this culture, I think dads sometimes they get a bad
Yes,
rap,
yes,
but it's changing a bit, and I think dads are more involved, and definitely with moms that have businesses, we need them. We
yes,
need their support, whether that's financially or supportive or just having somebody to listen to us
exactly.
and watch the
Hmm.
kids here and there. I agree with you. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him and his support. So
Yeah, so
definitely.
he went from
Um,
asking, "What do you do all day?" to asking, "How can I help you?"
Oh, that
You
is
know?
great. That is a great transformation. So, Trisha, tell us what you think it means to live a good life in a realistic way as a
Yeah.
modern day woman, right?
Yeah, modern day woman. It's multifaceted. It really is, because for everyone, a good life could be something as simple as being able to work, but still being able to go have lunch with my kids at school or go on the field trip. And I guess for me personally, I'm probably listing examples of my own because that is what it means to me, to live a good life. It's to be able to pursue my passion, and not at risk of my family being, whole and healthy and having good communication with my husband, or it's being able to pursue my passion without, sometimes those huge, huge sacrifices that can take us away from our family. So, so I know like people have this thing where they say,
Yes.
you can't have it all, right? Especially as a woman. And so I feel like you can kind of have it all just in moderation. so, so if you have good things in place for your business, if you're realistic about your time, then you can do things that fulfill you, that contribute to the well-being of your community, that are good for your family, and still be able to be present when you're with your family. And that to me, I think is a really good life, is to be able to be present. Like, for example, yesterday I was cuddling up with my oldest son while my husband and my youngest were at soccer, right? And I had all these other things that didn't get done yesterday, or, thought maybe this would be good if I did this right now. And just stopping mentally and being in that moment with my son made me realize that I was doing the most important, the good thing, and that and sitting there with him and rubbing his back was creating like this huge positive memory for him, and that is going to have long-term effects for him, his family, and that. So I think living a good life is just being able to be present with people and to be there for them and to enjoy your family.
Ooh, that's really good. And
That's a long
no,
answer, right?
that was perfect. And honestly, that is something that I struggle with all the time because
Yeah,
there are so many distractions. Even if you're not an entrepreneur, I think
right.
cell phones and technology have made this even more difficult to be present.
Yes.
So I
Yep.
love that you took that moment and you stopped mentally to say, this is what I'm going to do. Forget the laundry, forget all these things that I need to do.
Mhm.
It'll be all right. And
Yeah.
I love that advice. That's perfect. Well, where can we follow you in all your adventures and possibly sign up for a food tour?
Yeah, yeah. We are as far as social media goes, we're on Instagram and we're on Facebook. We also have our own website through which people book tours. It's weatewellfoodtours.com. But if you follow us on Instagram or Facebook, you can also access the link and get tours that way, get your tickets that way. We're also on TripAdvisor. If you do a quick Google search, We Ate Well Food Tours, you'll find us that way as well.
That is perfect. Well, I can't wait to see how your business grows and evolves and follow your family adventures because you travel a lot as a family, right?
Yeah, we try to. We were able to take our boys to Europe last year for their first trip abroad, and that was fantastic. And of course, it included lots of food. And I kind of felt like I had done my job because when I gave them a research project, I was like, "Here, write down 3 things you want to do in each city we're going to." So Paris, London, and Barcelona. And it was pretty food centric. So I was kind of proud.
That is
And so my
awesome.
oldest wanted to take a cooking class in Paris, and my youngest wanted to do a food tour in Barcelona. Of course, he also wanted to go see an FC Barcelona soccer match. So we were able to make that happen. And yeah, so food is a big part of what we do in travel.
Well,
So
if you need a nanny or a another adopted child, you can definitely call me up because I can only imagine your trips are the best.
yes, we will remember that.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, it was really
Well,
good.
well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk to us and our listeners. And I am hungry now, thanks to you. It's only 10 o'clock, so I better find some brunch somewhere close.
Right, right.
But I appreciate your time, and we will
Yeah.
follow you on social, and you will also be in our private Facebook group. If anyone has any other questions or want to find any more information on what Tricia is doing, it does not end here. So thank you so much again.
Thanks for having me, Michelle.
Thank you for listening to today's show. Make sure to visit our website, shelivespodcast.com, where you can subscribe to never miss a show. Find us on social at She Lives Podcast. While you're at it, if you loved today's episode, please take a moment to share with your friends and family and leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes. Talk soon.